Hello, this is the second video in this series. The first video we looked at the defining diagram or the IPO chart. In this particular video, we're going to look at actually producing an algorithm based on our IPO chart. So let us pull back up our IPO chart quickly. And there we have our defining diagram or IPO chart. We have the inputs, our outputs, and our processing. So based on this IPO chart, we're going to produce our algorithm. We're going to open our Notepad++, sorry. Once it's open, we're going to language, and we're going to go to Pascal. So P, Pascal. There we go. We have our Pascal language set. So as we know, with the first thing in any algorithm, we need to put a name. So let us name this algorithm. I'm going to name this grades algorithm. The reason I'm naming this grades and not marks is because you want to name the algorithm something different from one of the variables you have in your algorithm. I could have named it marks algorithm, that would have been fine. And of course we know that the second thing we do in any algorithm is put our author. So of course the author, I'm the author, so Mr. Jordan. After we have our author, we have our date. You should always date your algorithm. This is called on documentation. So today's date is the 4th of March. And a description. You must describe what the algorithm is doing. Description. So the first thing we have in our algorithm, if you look at our IPO chart again, we have a number of variables. So we need to initialize all of these variables, or at least state them. So we have S names, S marks, increase, new marks, and T increase. Okay, so let us get these variables installed. So we have our variable. I go on a tab. I like my things indented nicely. So we have what? S underscore names. Next underscore name, of course, this is an array, so we make it as an array because it's going to hold all the names of all the students in the class. And let us assume there are 15 students in the class. Now we have to put the data type. Of course, names is a string, is a word, a collection of characters, as a string is. The 4 data types we have are strings, integers, real, and character. A character is one letter, one symbol. A string is a group of characters, so a string can have numbers, letters, what have you. Integer is a number that does not carry any decimal place or any fractional component. Right? So an integer is like from -1, -2, 0, 1, 2. And a real is a number that can have a decimal component. So real can be 1.5, $1.50, or it could be -1 as well. So all integers are real numbers. However, not all real numbers are integers. So we can put this as string because it's a string. Next we have S marks. S underscore marks. Again, this is a array because it's holding all the marks for all the students in the class. So 1.15. So it all depends how many things you have. We only have 15, and this is all real in this case because it could be 70.5%, 20.5%, any of these things. So it can have a decimal component. Next we have increase. My increase is going to be an integer as well. Why? Because depending on each mark, you may have a number of increases. So all 15 students can get an increase. Depends if all 15 students get above a certain mark. Okay, so increase is an array. So 1.15 out, and again, the increase can be 1.5 depending. Next we have new mark. So if increase is an array, new mark will have to be an array as well. Just let me go back to the report chart. S marks. So we have new marks, not new marks. So we have new marks. And of course, if increase is an array, then new marks will be an array as well. Because new marks is a combination of increase and S marks. And again, that is of real. So we have our four arrays. What else must we put? The total increase. Total increase will not be an array because that's just one value. What we're going to do, we're going to take all the increases and add those and give us one value. So it's not an array. So we have total underscore increase. And that is a thing. So we're going to initialize it there. You can just put equal 0 to initialize it. And there we go. We have all of our arrays. We have one more. We have all of our variables. We have one more variable left. And I like to use I. And this is called my index variable. I'm going to set that as 0 as well. So now we can begin our algorithm. And of course, all algorithms begin with start. We need to get that back. Start. After we are start, now the first thing we need to do, we can initialize our arrays there. Okay? I mean, I don't even have to put all those for arrays. I can simply initialize them here. Since they are arrays, but I like to show that they're arrays, so let me initialize all my arrays here. So to initialize arrays, we need to use some sort of loop. And in this case, we're going to use a for loop. For loop is an easier type of loop to use. So we can use for. We can use our index variable for I is equal to 1, 1, 2, 15. And we're going to do in that loop. Again, I'm indenting. I hope you pay close attention to my indentation. So, what is the first thing we need to do? We need to initialize the other arrays we have. So let us do that. So we have S names. I'm just going to copy and paste, makes it easier for me. And paste. And then that is equal to 0. Next one, S marks. Copy and paste. Now it's equal to 0 as well. Is S names equal to 0 or I made an error? S names not equal to 0 because it's a string. So double quotes. Open and close double quotes. Okay. Next one, increase. All real numbers and integers are equal to 0. All strings and characters, we initializing them. We put double quotes around them. Open and close quotes. Increase is equal to 0 as well. Then we have our end marks. And that is equal to 0. So there we have them, our 4 arrays initialized. I'm going to use one loop to write my entire program. However, the better way to do this would be to use separate loops for each stage of the program, so that when you're checking, or each stage of the algorithm, so that when you're checking, you can check piece by piece. So we're still in the loop, the for loop. So next we're going to accept ants and accept our inputs. So the first thing we need to do is display, and we need to, what we need to ask for. First thing, enter the students' names. Just so I will know which student I'm dealing with, I like to put my double quotes, comma, and then I. That way I will know when I is equal to 1, I'm input the students' names for I, or students' name I. So I can probably put 4 here. Student name for 1. Right? So as I changes that I will change, giving you the actual student's name. Next, we will accept get or read. It's up to you. We accept S underscore names because that's where the students' names will go. And S underscore names. And of course, it's an array, so we need to put our I so that we know 1, 2, 3. So we need to look, we have an error here, we need to put our I's on that on these as well. Once it's on an array, you need to put your index variable there so you can see the change that is going to occur. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. Okay, so next input. You also have to input. You have to get the student's mark, so I ask them to enter the student's mark for I again, comma, I, and we need to accept S underscore marks, and of course it's an array, so as long as it's an array we need to put our index variable. So now we have our inputs. What's the next step? Let us go to our algorithm, our IPO chart, and check. So we got our names and we got our marks. So now we have to look at the processing part. And the processing part is as what it is here. We can process just like that. So let us process. I mean, if you can even copy and paste that process. So it's very similar to what we are actually going to do. Yeah, just some changes. So let us do that processing part. I won't copy and paste it. I'll actually write it in. So the first thing is if, and F what? If S underscore marks is more than or equal to 70, then what are we going to do? Again, we tab in. So if S underscore marks, of course it's an array, so we need to put our I. Don't forget your I or your index variable. It could be I, it could be any letter. It could be the word index, anything you want. Then what we are going to do? Let us go back to our IPO chart and see what we did. Increase then is 5% of S marks. So let us do that. Then I increase. Again, it's an array, so we need to put our I. Increase takes the value of what? 5% of 5% of, not the word of, but multiply S marks, F underscore marks. And of course that's an array. That's as simple, and we're going to continue in that trend until we finish our processing. So exactly what we have been processing in the IPO chart, we're going to have in our algorithm as well, and in our program, by the way. Next, else if S marks again less than this time 70, and S marks is more than or equal to 60, then, and what are we going to do next? Of course, it's similar to what we have in the IPO chart. Increase then takes the value of, increase takes the value of 2% of our S marks. So now I'm putting my I's, I'm missing my I from here. This is a common error, so just be careful when you're actually doing your algorithm not to make the same error, leaving out your index variable. Always place it once it's an array you're looking at. Let's go again, else if S, I know some of you will probably copy and paste this. You can do that, it's shorter, it's quicker. But I'm just typing everything here. If S marks is less than this time 60, and S underscore marks, again, don't forget your index variable, is more than or equal, is more than, not equal this time, 50, then what happens with S marks? They increase again our index variable, very easy to forget that. takes the value of 1%, 1 over 100 multiplied by S. And you can see how simple this becomes as long as you have your IPO chart, because this is exactly what we have in our IPO chart, and we're putting it back more or less word for word in our algorithm. One last thing though, we need to add our else, because if these are not the case, then if these are not the cases, then we need to say that S marks, then our increase will be 0. Increase I takes the value of 0. There you go. So this is part of our processing. Next part of our processing, since we in our if functions or condition statements, we need to always place our init. And since there are 3 condition statements we have, we're going to close all 3 of our condition statements. So init, and init. So there we go. Those are our condition statements. Now we're going to go check our IPO chart again and see what next we have. We have n marks and then total increase. So let us place our n marks and total increase in our algorithm. Again, similar to what we have in our IPO chart. So n underscore marks takes the value. N underscore marks, since it's new marks, we're going to add our increase to our old marks. So it takes the value of our s underscore marks. Again, these are arrays, so remember to put your index variables. Look, I forgot mine on n marks. I said it's easy to forget it. Just be careful. And in this case, we need to add. So we add our increase. And there you go. That's n mark, just as we have it in our IPO chart. All that is different is that we are adding our index variables. And we're going to continue and put our total increase. Now total increase is not an array, so you don't add an index variable to it. Total increase takes the value of total increase plus any increase we would have gotten. So as the loop goes around, every time we have an increase, we add it to our total increase, and our total increase will grow. So we'll get the overall increase at the end of the loop. So there we go. We have our total increase. Now, as I said, we're going to do almost everything in one for loop. We can change our loops and do a while loop. So I'm changing my mind. In this case, I'm going to stop my for loop here, and I'm going to show you with a while loop for the outputs. So let us end our for loop. So end for. There we go. So our for loop is completed. Our processing part is completed. So we have our initialization. We have our inputs. We have our processing. Now let us look at the outputs, and we're going to do a while loop. So let us take our index variable, and we're going to initialize it this time to 1. Now we can start our while loop. So while I is less than or equal to, while I is less than or equal to 15, do. Which means this is going to loop until it reaches 15. Right? Once it goes to 16, the loop will finish. And what we need to do now, we need to put our output. So let's go to our IPO chart and see what outputs we have. We have S names, increase, N marks, and T increase. Now 3 of these are arrays, and once you have an array, we need to put those in a loop. One of those, total increase, is not an array, so it does not come in a loop. So let us put our 3 outputs in the loop, or 3 arrays in the loop rather. So we have our display. We're going to use our display again, our quotes, and we're going to put an appropriate label now. You may see you put an appropriate label, and this is what they mean. The student name is, okay? That's an appropriate name label. That's labeling the name that is going to come afterwards. Then comma, and we're going to put student S underscore names now, so we can get the actual student's names. And of course, it's an array, so we need to put our index variable, and that's it. So let us display the other two. Display. Now we have, let's go back quickly to our IPO chart, increase and end marks. So the increase or the above student is, again we're going to close that, we have our appropriate label there, so now S actually increase, and of course that's an array, so we have to put our index variable. Third, we have our display and we have our new mark. So the new mark for the above student, since we know it's going to come above, is close our appropriate label and we put our new underscore mark. Of course you need to put our index variable. There we go, that's our output. However, with a while loop is different from a for loop in that a for loop changes value automatically. It increases automatically. A while loop, you have to make it increase. So let us make this while loop go from 1 through to 15. So to do that, we use our index variable. This takes the value of our index variable plus 1. So at the end of each loop, we're going to add 1 to what we had before, causing the while loop to increase. There we go. We have finished our while loop. So now we can end while. Perfect. We have soon finished our algorithm and it didn't take much time at all. The last thing we need to output is our total increase. And as I said, total increase is not an array, so it does not come in a loop. It comes on its own. So after we finish our loop, we can place our total increase on the outside. So total underscore increase. Actually, we need to display. So display. We need to put an appropriate label. The overall increase given is close our label and put, now we have our variable total increase. And that's it. We have finished our algorithm, so now we have to stop because each algorithm must be terminated. Each algorithm must have a begin and an end, a start and a stop. And that's it. We have finished our algorithm. Thank you for tuning in to this video on algorithm writing. I hope this will help you with your SBA, and I will see you in the next video.